It's a parent's worst nightmare, at least it seemed to be for me. Imagine, put yourself in this situation. You've booked an awesome vacation, you're traveling with your children, the whole family's going, you've been planning this for months, and you get to the airport, you get through security, and you look down at your boarding pass and you notice you're not sitting with your children. I don't even know what to say to that. And the crazy part is that it happened to us. I thought I'd start by sharing our story, what happened and how it got resolved, because it did get resolved in our situation. But then thinking through that as we're planning an upcoming vacation here, I thought it would be worthwhile to take a few minutes to share with you some wisdom, some information, and some things to watch out for when it comes to traveling with your child, so that hopefully you can ensure that you do not get separated from your children. So our story was this. We were flying to Hawaii for a family vacation. We were also celebrating the life of my father-in-law who had passed away as part of that trip, and lots of planning and effort had gone into it. And we were on our flight, the leg of our flight from O'Hare to LA, and then of course from LA to Hawaii. And we had booked our flights ahead of time. We had reserved actual seats. We had ensured that the three of us, because at the time we didn't have the twins yet, we had ensured the three of us were sitting together. We brought Brian's car seat with us to ensure that he had a safe flight. We thought everything was fine. We check in, we get through security, and we look down at our boarding pass to see, hey, what gate do we need to be at? And I noticed that where we were supposed to all be in row 31 on that plane, that our seats had changed. My wife and I were still in row 31, but our son, who was 18 months old at the time, was now seated somewhere else, next to a complete stranger, rows away from us. There was a little bit of panic at that point, let's be perfectly honest. And my wife panicked, Nicole panicked more than I did. But I was not happy, right? So we book it to the gate, we talk to the gate agent and ask them what we can do, tell them the situation. And of course the gate agent said, hey, we'll do our best. We'll see if we can ask passengers what they can do, if someone will move, but we can't guarantee you anything at this point. We're just fuming. So we sit down, we've got a little time before the flight's gonna leave because we got there plenty early. And my wife thinks to reach out on Twitter, and she tweets, hey, at United, we were flying United at the time. Hey, at United, it's unacceptable that this happened. Our 18-month-old's gonna have to potentially have to sit next to a stranger. And we thought we were just gonna have to hope and pray that we could find people that would move for us so that we could have our son with us at the time. Miraculously, I don't know if it's miraculously, I guess United's kind of known for this now, but they responded to Twitter almost immediately. They requested our reservation, our flight information, and requested that my wife reach out to them directly via direct message there on Twitter. And they worked it out. They upgraded us to economy plus seats as a courtesy, had all three seats put together, and it all worked out fine. But this is not an isolated incident, right? We got it resolved for us, but I was flying again for work a few years later, and I witnessed not one or two, but 5 different families just between Peoria, Illinois, and Austin, Texas, run across the same thing. And I've seen children be seated by themselves, clearly with their parents also on the plane. So it can happen, right? Planning this trip we're making down to Orlando here in July, this is something that's worried me, right? We booked United again because they were offering the best deal that fit within the guidelines we wanted. We wanted to upgrade to a little bit roomier seats since we're going to be lap seating the twins for this particular flight. And so, it made sense to go to United, but I was reminded of our experience at that point. And so I thought it would be important to take some time to talk about best practices. Really, as it stands right now, a lot of the tickets you guys are seeing, and this is kind of the big thing to watch out for, a lot of tickets you are seeing if you're trying to book discount airfare. You'll see words like base economy, or something along those lines. And those seats are always the cheapest, right? If you use some of the travel sites like Kayak or Priceline or Expedia, any of those, you'll see these basic economy tickets, and they're cheap. They are very cheap. But you'll notice if you read the fine print, there's things like no guaranteed seating, and they even say in there, no guaranteed seating, including with your family. So be aware of that kind of stuff. There is some indication, I did a little research online. There is some indication that in the last or one of the most recent FAA reauthorization bills, there was some language put in there that's supposed to prevent airlines from charging in order to seat families together. I can't seem to find any real verification that happened. If you guys know that that is the case, if you can point me to where that is, please leave a comment on the video. I'd love to get that information to people so that they can take advantage of it, take it with them to the airport if something happens, whatever that might be. But basic economy tickets really is the big thing to look out for. Some other things that you can do to kind of help ensure you're sitting with your family and you don't have to experience this kind of a situation, right? Book early. As early as you can within reason. I mean, you certainly want to be shopping flights at an appropriate time, and there's websites out there that can help you determine when's the right time to buy tickets to various places. But clearly, booking early so that you have the chance to book specific seats together, right? You book last minute, you may not have the option. Check into your flight early, right? Most places you can check in 24 hours before your flight on your phone, right? And that gives you a chance to see where your seats are, even change seats or upgrade seats right from the app. I've done this a number of times traveling for work recently, and it's worked out really quite well. Double check your seat assignments regularly, right? Keep an eye on your boarding passes. Well, not necessarily boarding passes, but certainly after you've checked in, but also just your reservations. As you get closer and closer to your trip. That way, you're not surprised when you get to the airport potentially, but maybe you've caught a change beforehand, and you can make arrangements to do otherwise. Call the airline, right? Call and talk to the airline, even when you're making your reservation. Say, hey, I'm traveling with my family. I've got 18-month-old kids with me, or whatever the situation might be. We've got twins. Booking this particular flight, we wanted to make sure we were together, but we knew that there are some restrictions on how many kids can be in a row. So we called the airline and said, hey, can we make sure that if we upgrade to these roomier seats, that it's okay for us to have all 3 kids in the row with us? Double check those things. Call and ask. Get to the gate early. Talk to the gate agent, right? Even if you're in a bad situation, or in a situation where you've had your seats changed and you don't think you're going to be able to sit by your children, talk to the gate agent, see what they can do. They're humans. They understand the trouble. Many of them are probably even parents and understand what it is you're going through. So certainly check with the gate agent. There's other things you can do, like talk to the flight crew, right, when you get on the plane. If you haven't gotten satisfaction via the airline or via the gate agent, talk to the flight crew. They're going to have to deal with your children on the airline, and they certainly want your experience to be happy and wonderful, because that's easier for them, clearly. So talk to the flight crew and be friendly. And I'll tell you, our experience flying with Brian and traveling with Brian, even traveling with the little bit of travel we've done with the twins, which hasn't been much yet. If your kids are happy and smiley, if you're being friendly, people go out of their way to do things for families that are traveling. At least our experience is most of the time that's been the case. That people enjoy a smiley, happy child and a family that's clearly enjoying themselves and having fun. So be friendly. 5 things to watch out for, right? I picked 5 in particular, things that you want to keep an eye on. And I know I've kind of emphasized this first one multiple times, but I think it is the most important one, and that's watch out for basic economy tickets. I'll say it again, basic economy. Other airline policies, right? Ensure that you understand all the policies about where you can sit with children, and maybe what their refund or flight change rules are. So make sure that you've educated yourself about the airline you're choosing to fly. Pay attention to unexpected plane or seat changes, right? So that's what happened to us. We had thought we had everything taken care of. We had booked specific seats, and they changed. And they may have changed because, and I don't remember at the time, but they may have changed because the plane changed, right? The plane that they were taking is no longer the plane they're taking, so the seat arrangement's different. who knows, right? So, but pay attention, right? In the days of every airline having an app and travel apps such as Tripit, which we use, and some of those others, you're well connected to what's happening on your flight. So ensure you're just paying attention to both seat and plane changes. Unassigned seating type situations. I mentioned Southwest a second ago. Southwest, I've never flown Southwest. I have friends that have, but they don't do assigned seating, and they kind of board by zone, and they do, as I understand, make some allowances for families to board a little bit early. But if there's no chance to assign a seat, there's risk, right? There's a little bit of risk. So just be aware, right? And that goes back to the policy things. The last thing, and I think this is probably most important, is to avoid being rushed. If you get to the gate, things have changed, you're not seated with your children, but they're boarding already, and you're literally running, you're out of breath, you're frustrated, you're angry, you're tired, you're not friendly. The gate agent is busy doing a bunch of other things, and you're trying to get their attention. The flight crew's busy dealing with people who aren't following the rules of carry-ons and overheads and so on and so forth. You're not as likely to get the attention you need in those situations if you're being rushed. So plan to be at the airport early and ahead of time. I know that can be hard with children, but it is by far the best way to ensure that you get a pleasant experience in terms of a seat on plane. So those are my 5 tips. Again, to kind of go over those, watch out for basic economy, check the airline policies, pay attention to unexpected seat or plane changes, be aware of unassigned seating situations, whether it's Southwest in general or basic economy being unassigned seats, and of course avoid being rushed. I think if you do those things, if you really just pay attention, I think you're going to have a good experience, and I don't think you're going to have any problems. But certainly ensure, don't assume that you're going to be allowed to sit by your children, and do everything you can to ensure you do, and then you'll have an awesome flight. So we'll spend more time here as we get closer talking about how we've flown in the past, what our plans are to fly this time, lap seating versus not lap seating, all those kinds of things. We'll spend lots of time unpacking our experience and what our intentions are, and hopefully you guys can find some use in that, some benefit out of our experience. So please take a minute, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon so you get notified. Certainly share and like this video. We want to get the word out to as many people as we can about the information we have. So if you think it's useful, please take just a minute to do that stuff. It really helps us to get this information out to as many people as possible. And again, you can always check us out on social media as well. We're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and we'd love to see you in those places. So again, I'll see you guys later.